Phonetics and phonology. Speaking a foreign language is a complicated matter. There are different issues language learners have to deal with: grammar, the structure of the language, context, cultural issues, the actual language and its skills, receptive and productive. And within these productive skills, speaking is the one that seems to cause more problems, especially with age students who have, to some extent, fossilized knowledge regarding pronunciation. Phonology. Phonology studies the sounds within a specific language, how we interpret and systemize sounds. There is no phonology without a language. Phonetics. Despite the apparent complexity that it seems to be learning all those phonetic signs and their meanings in sounds, they could provide a reliable option to help learners enhance speech. Phonetics studies the sounds of language, focusing on just the sounds. This is, phonetics can focus on any language. These are some aspects phonetics focus on: how sounds are produced, which is studied by articulatory phonetics; how sounds travel through the air, which is studied by acoustic phonetics; and how sounds reach the auditory system of the receiver, is studied by auditory phonetics. But how important is this for language teachers? Teaching a language requires to master, if not totally, at least to a great extent, the target language pronunciation. This will hopefully help teachers recognize the phonemes by familiarizing themselves with the symbols assigned to each phoneme. Learning the whole International Phonetics alphabet is not a simple task. Nevertheless, it is achievable. There are different strategies aimed to help language users and learners to familiarize themselves with this phonetic system. The International Phonetic Alphabet is a standard international sound scheme designed to organize the spoken sounds of languages. Thus, these signs can be used with any language. Of course, there are situations in which some phonemes are modified by language users to belong to a context, or by other reasons related to physiological impediments or several other issues that at the end change the sound of a phoneme. Nevertheless, in a specific context, the meaning remains as it's in its original signified. But is learning the International Phonetics Alphabet beneficial for teachers and for language learners? A question arose in my mind. It's been stated by some scholars that learning a language based on grammar, on a grammatical approach, beyond the lack of real significant communicative activities and other negative features mentioned, as negative, there is a feeling amongst learners, not always, but that the grammar is boring. And considering that, how will learners embrace the idea of learning the grammar of sounds? I consider that learning the International Phonetic Alphabet System is a great tool to help learners achieve the goal of speaking the target language accurately. Nevertheless, the question remains: how will learners feel towards learning an alternative alphabet? Will this feeling create a barrier towards learning? I understand there should be friendly techniques for this learning, and that perhaps as learners perceive the improvement, could be an extra motivation for accepting the alternative alphabet. I find it interesting but complicated. I believe that it is a topic we could study for a whole semester, and to that point, perhaps become familiar, not experts in the area.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Manuel, and today I'm going to talk about the phonetics and phonologies. So, phonetics and phonologies are both very important in the study of languages. In fact, phonetics are sometimes called the grammar of sounds. Phonetics look up the actual sound that come out of our mind, and also the acoustic phonetics. At the beginning of the degree, we saw in a class the difference between parole and langue. Well, phonetics in this case will be kind of parole, because it's the actual sound of the language. Phonologies, in the other hand, not just what sounds are being produced, but which sounds that I produce and actually make a difference between a language. In other words, phonology is the study of systematic organization within a given language. Sometimes this is called the grammar of sounds, and the presentador said that this is very hard to find in regular courses. and sometimes is only found in advanced courses, even though a working understanding of phonologies is very helpful. Well, that's it. Have a very good weekend and see you later. Bye.
Phonetics and phonology. Phonetics is physical description of the actual sounds used in human language. Phonology deals with the way the sounds we use are organized into patterns and systems. Phonetics deals with the speech sounds themselves, how they are made, articulatory phonetics, how they are perceived, auditory phonetics, and the physics involved, acoustic phonetics. Phonology deals with how the speech sounds are organized into systems for each individual language. Example, how the sounds can be combined and relation between them and how they affect each other. Phonology study how these songs combine and how they change in combination, as well as which sounds can contrast to produce different meanings. Phonetic sample describe the articulatory and acoustic properties of speech sounds. Phonetics versus phonology. Phonetics belong to descriptive linguistics. Phonology belongs to theoretical linguistics. Phonetic study the production, transmission, transmission, reception of sounds. Phonology studies different patterns of sounds in different languages. Phonetics does not study one particular language, and phonology can study one specific language.
Hi, my name is Juan Carlos Bojorquez. I'm from the UPES University in Los Mochis, Sinaloa, and today I'm going to be giving my opinion on phonetics and phonology. A very interesting and important topic for our bachelor's degree, so we can be able to teach our students phonetics and pronunciation as best as we can. But it is something that takes more than just a couple of weeks to learn, so I'm hoping we get another similar course along the way. And from what I've seen, language teachers are often afraid to teach pronunciation because they lack essential basic knowledge or training in phonetics and phonology. And that's a big issue in ELT, English language teaching. But with that being said, to my understanding, phonetics is the study of the actual sounds of the language, while phonology studies which sounds make a difference in the language. Grammar and vocabulary are key components of effective communication, but their impact is greatly reduced without the ability to pronounce them clearly and correctly, and adding emotional weight and context through variances in pitch and rhythm. For example, in English, a fall and rise pattern of intonation adds crucial information to the speaker's statement. Mostly the desire for a response or a confirmation from the other person. Without awareness and means to activate this additional layer of speech, an English learner is ultimately handicapped in their communication. While their word choice and sentence structure may be impeccable, they are still missing an integral aspect of the English language.
One of the most difficult things at the time of learning a new language is learning pronunciation. For this, it's extremely important to learn about phonetics and phonology, especially about the International Phonetics alphabet, which can be very helpful when an unknown word is trying to be pronounced in a new language. Phonetics is the study of the actual sounds of a language. Most of the times, we don't even notice the sounds that we make when we talk, but if we analyze it, we can realize that every letter has a lot of different ways of pronunciation, and that there are a lot of factors that make these sounds that we make happen. It's not only opening your mouth and making sounds. It goes from the brain, it takes a lot of breathing and a lot of organs that are part of this process and that make these sounds happen. In the other hand, phonology studies which sounds make a difference in a language. As I said before, Each letter can have many different ways to pronounce it. So, in this way, the International Phonetic Alphabet is crucial to learn the correct pronunciation of the words. This alphabet lets linguists write down the actual sounds of every letter that is part of a language. Yes? So, if this alphabet is learned correctly, it can be very helpful to understand the pronunciation of any word and to know how to pronounce it just by reading it in any dictionary. I consider all these phonetics, phonology, and the alphabet very important, and I think that it should be part of any English program. In my experience, I wasn't taught any of this while I was studying English, but I feel that it would have been very helpful for me because there were a lot of words that I wasn't pronouncing in the right way, and I didn't learn to pronounce them until a native speaker corrected me. So I feel like it's very important to teach these to our students and to help them really understand the pronunciation of each letter and the different pronunciations that it can have